It was my intense desire to solve this puzzle created by the existence of the universe inherently present in the development of modern humans, their life and death, the innate concept of good and evil, without the inclusion of an intelligent being, the God. I wished this religious rhetoric would turn out to be a myth so that I could continue to lead a carefree life. During that period, I spent all my time studying human civilizations in addition to the history of religion and the universe. Reflecting day and night, I tried to solve this puzzle on the basis of the set of physical laws without an intelligent being, the God. In essence, I was not trying to prove religion right, I was trying to falsify it. Proving it right would call for a complete change in my lifestyle. The problem was, these pieces of the puzzle cannot be put together without an intelligent being, the God. This is the only solution which has been publicly announced by all prophets of God throughout the history of humans. The Quran says, "As there is nothing comparable to God in this universe, we cannot form any image of His being or His personality. So, we can only know Him through His attributes." The Quran says that He is a person, a mind, who does not possess any bad attributes or weaknesses, and simultaneously masters all good attributes to the point of perfection. I feel once man consciously discovers God, then belief in the hereafter is just its corollary. This reminds me of an incident in 1993. In those days, I would spend most of my time in pondering over and discussing the eternal life to come. A friend of mine said to me, "Generally, you are a very rational person. Hence, this kind of conversation doesn't suit your personality. Anyhow, I need to discuss this topic with you someday in detail, but I will need 4 to 5 hours." One day, while I was in my office at Center Point Plaza, Lahore, I received a call from this friend. He asked me if I had time for the promised discussion. I told him to come over. When he came, we had a short dialogue which I reproduce here. I said, "Before going into a full-fledged long debate, I want to ask you a few questions. Which building are you sitting in at the moment?" I asked. "Center Point," he replied. "Who made this plaza?" I asked. "You," he replied. "If I claim that I can make a building like this again, would that be rational?" I asked. "You have made this building once, you can make it again, and if you make it once again, you will probably do a better job," he explained. "Who made you and the universe?" I asked. "God," he said promptly. "If God says that He will create all this again, would that be a rational or irrational?" I asked. Once I posed this question, a silence fell over him. He became absolutely quiet, and there remained no need for a full-fledged discussion of 4 to 5 hours. At that time, I knew very well that this friend of mine was referring to God without much thought, the way I used to do in the past. But yet he had not accepted God as a conscious, intelligent being, a mind. Since he was not mentally prepared to accept this reality, I decided not to plunge him into further distress. Whenever in life he would be ready to face this reality, the discussion would begin from the God and not from the hereafter. Obviously, if one finds it difficult to create something, it has to be in his first try. If he is able to create it once, it should be easier for him to repeat the process. This is what God explains in Quran. God says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. Translation: It is He who originates the creation, then will create it again, and it is easier for Him. His is the highest description in the heavens and the earth, and He is the mighty, the wise. This is from chapter 30, verse 27. That is why I say that basic belief is the belief in the God, the glorious Supreme Being who is free from any negative attributes or weaknesses and positively has all the good attributes to the perfection. Once a man consciously acknowledges this reality, then accountability or life after death is just its corollary. Having consciously discovered the God, I came to the compelling conclusion that He should have some mode of communication with us, I mean humans. Basically, the Abrahamic religious traditions attribute two books to God, the Holy Quran and the Bible. I resolved to study these two books as they deserve to be studied. My study went on for years, and with God's blessing, I am still engaged in the exercise. When I read the Bible, I was extremely taken aback by the Old Testament's concept of God. The Old Testament depicts a God who wrestles with Jacob and loses, walks in the garden and does not know where Adam and Eve are hiding, and carries out some actions and then regrets over them. These and other similar issues in the Bible made it clear to me why people in the West have become indifferent to the religion or deserted it altogether. My motivation was to understand the scheme of God. I needed to base myself on an absolutely reliable source. It came to my knowledge that the Quran is the only book whose text is authentic. It has been preserved and protected from changes by God Himself. Hence I concluded that this is the only book which could lead me to the answer. I continued my study of the Quran for years, benefiting from the works of scholars from the past as well as from my contemporaries. I always tried to refrain from falling into prejudice. Perhaps I should clarify here that when I say scholars, I am referring only to those who do not represent any specific sect. Because representatives of sects accept things because of their birth first and then spend their whole lives trying to prove it right. On the contrary, true scholars accept things on the basis of arguments rather than their birth or sect. Such scholars, although a few in number, are found in all eras of human history. Their works on the Holy Quran have been translated into English as well as into Urdu. Urdu language is exclusive in this regard because whatever research on Quran has been conducted in the past 1400 years can be found in Urdu. For my research, which was strictly based on the Quran, I tried to comprehend the works of these scholars and endeavored to put the contents of their conclusions into a defined sequence. At a basic level, this kind of work demands crucial insight, as it requires accumulating relevant data and appropriate sequencing guided with the art of reasoning. However, I have prioritized the views of some scholars over others regarding certain matters. Here I want to make it clear that while doing all this work, I never ventured to translate any of the Quranic verses myself. Rather, I have always turned to the translations of the Quran by the authentic scholars. I further want to clarify that while doing my research work, I never went beyond the stable, unambiguous, well-established meanings of ayat-e mutashabihat, as the common sense does not permit one to do so. How my God led me to guidance during all those years of my research is another story for another day. I usually say that it all became possible not because of any extraordinary intelligence, but certainly because of extraordinary effort spanning over thousands and thousands of hours. In my opinion, the grand scheme of God could be divided into 11 stages. 1. The creation of the present universe. 2. End of the present universe. 3. Purpose of the creation of the universe. 4. Creation of bodies, carriers, of Adam and Eve on this planet Earth, and 3 aspects of human being. 5. The curtain word called Barzakh. 6. First phase of Yawmul Qiyamah, or beginning of the Judgment Day. 7. Second phase of the Judgment Day, or Al-Qiyamah. 8. Third phase of Judgment Day, Nuzul, the initial feast. 9. End of the present universe. 10. Nature of the permanent word. 11. The ultimate triumph and rank of honor in the permanent word. Under every stage, I have presented certain conclusions and then listed the verses from which these conclusions were derived. Particularly, those words in the verses, as I want the readers to reflect upon, are highlighted in red. My suggestion is that this book should be studied keeping this matter in mind so that the arguments of Quran become fully apparent. May God the Almighty enable us to fully understand the reality of this temporary life and give us the strength for planning to attain best grades in our everlasting life after death.